Always fresh and a little bit sticky. Keep it locked on Cannabis Wiki. We're always fresh and a little bit sticky. The green room on Cannabis Wiki.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Green Room live from the Cannabis Wiki Conference and Expo in London, Ontario. Hey Derek.
Hey Jackie.
I'm excited to chat with our next guest.
Me too.
Shaq from the IRCC. Hello, welcome.
Hello Jackie. Hello Derek.
What
Hey.
does the IRCC stand for? What does that mean?
Good question, Jackie.
I'm confused. We
Well,
just started.
We started and you're confused already. You spent too much time in the consumption lounge.
Yes, that always.
It's the Patio, sponsored by Countryside Cannabis.
Woohoo!
That's right, great brand. The IRCC is the Independent Retail Cannabis Collective. So we were formed with this specific mandate to level the playing field for
Okay.
retailers, especially independent retailers. Independent retailers are the lifeblood of every industry around, right?
Yep,
Every industry.
I would
around.
agree with you.
So, in our industry, which is very new, they don't get access to what everybody else gets access to,
Mm-hmm.
especially bigger chains, that type of stuff. If you're an indie and you try and go and get a bank account, it's still pretty hard. Most cannabis businesses had that issue. However, if you were a bigger chain, you can go and get bank accounts.
Really?
Of course. Of course. Look at some financial statements, you'll see where the banking is being done. Right? So that's one way.
Right.
So if you have a 50 store chain and I come to you, Derek, and I say, hey, I want to use this Weed Canyon idea that you have. It looks really cool. I can leverage you for a price way more than if Jackie comes to you with one store and says, hey, I really love your solution. I want to jump on.
Right.
Right?
Power in numbers.
Exactly. So that was the concept that we had, and we said, let's see how we can help independent retailers actually put money back into their pocket instead of reaching in. Everyone's
Right.
reaching in. Let's see how we can help them.
Everyone's reaching in those pockets, especially of the independent retailers. No, it costs them like their whole lives, pretty much. It's a hope and a dream, and every penny you've ever made to get into this industry, is it not?
It absolutely is, right? And a lot of them mortgaged their houses and gave up savings to try and get into this. So they have passion. And as a consumer, if I think about it from a consumer standpoint, yeah, I go to Loblaws. You go to Loblaws,
Yeah.
maybe. I might go to Metro, but I like my local grocer.
Mhm.
I buy specific things from my local grocer because I know where it's coming from, right? I want that in cannabis as a consumer.
Right.
I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I
Yep.
want to.
We're big on supporting the independent retailers for sure. And I mean,
And
You'll-
they're the majority.
80%,
yeah.
80%. All right. So, so what we've done is we've created some programs. We buy data from retailers,
Okay.
and then we process it, etc. Do a number of different things with it. Provide some BI information to LPs, and we do a rev share back with the retailer. Right.
Oh, okay.
So, that way, we're putting some money into their hands. We partner with some really great partners, Access Insurance for their retail store insurance, so they can get a group rate. Benefits for health for your employees. So if you want to do an employee health plan, you have that ability as well, and you can come in under an umbrella rate and get a better deal than you would in any other way.
Right.
So we have a number of these programs. Payment processing, I think Mirko is one of our partners. So again, as a group, we get a better deal, right?
What about
Everybody wins.
product? Is there any way for
Some
you to
buying
help them,
power?
give them some buying power?
Well, that's always a challenge, right? Because the rules are defined, but they're not defined. You can sell data, but you're not allowed to do inducements. There are, challenges around that. So some people might say, oh, well, when you do this, you're actually inducing them to buy more. Well, no, because if you don't give them, hey, you need to buy this much every month. Hey, you need to put this on your shelf in this position. Hey, you need to do X, Y, and Z. It's not an inducement,
Right.
right? It's a list of products.
Yep.
So it really depends. So trying to build buying power in that fashion is very tricky,
Right.
unless you're a big chain.
Well, that's the thing.
Central
That's what I
buying,
was,
right?
because
they
like
do
the big
central
chain,
buying.
right?
Right.
And that's it. And like even like when the pandemic came and stuff, the bigger chains were able to move the products around, like from the store. Oh, it's not selling over here. Let me move it over to this one, right? Where the local retailer, they really got stuck. So I was just wondering if there is some form of like help for them there, like there would be in a normal traditional industry, right? Where cannabis, it just has all these bylaws. So it's very hard.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the regulations are going to evolve as time progresses.
Let's hope.
No, I mean they have to, right? Like if we look at comparable industries, I know a lot of people like to compare cannabis to bev alc, right? Oh well, you can do this in bev alc, but you can't do this in cannabis. You can, and I get it, and I agree, but bev alc has a long
History, right?
right? Cannabis, in terms of a legal market,
So
does
new.
not have a long.
We're in its
Right. So we're going to
infancy.
get there. So what we've got to do is we've got to take the learnings and the best practices from these other industries and start to apply them quicker and apply pressure for regulatory changes that move the business forward and allow us all to survive and actually make some money, hopefully, right?
Hopefully. Is there a cost for retailers to join?
No.
There's no cost. So, and they just sign up? They
They go to our website, there's a join form, click the join form, sign up. You can take part in any of our programs, whatever fits your needs, whatever you need to help your business. You're the decision maker, make the decision.
Oh, wow. I always thought there was a fee, that there was some sort of, okay. So how does the IRCC make the money?
Well, again, we have a really transparent methodology.
Oh, the data.
The data, obviously.
Yeah.
But even beyond that, even with our partners, so what we do is that we leverage the discounts for the partner.
Oh, okay.
So let's say I'm getting you a discount of $100.
Right.
You're gonna keep 80. I get 20.
All right. That's
So it's
fair.
it's very fair, right?
Super fair. They didn't
Um,
have to pay anything to join. They didn't have to
to
pay
pay
anything to
didn't
get
have to
all
do
this
any
help.
work, and we just go out there and make
Right.
make
it happen.
Make it happen, right? Level the playing field. That's what we're about.
So what are you trying to say? You're like a Teamsters boss?
I don't know what a Teamsters is, to be quite honest.
Union. Is this a union?
No.
Jimmy
no.
Hoffa.
No.
You're the Jimmy Hoffa of the cannabis. Is that what we're saying here?
No, not at all.
I'm just
But I think that's great. I never even thought about that. I might use
It's like
that.
fighting for the little guys, you know what I mean? But yeah, so that's really great. So basically, there's somewhere that can help, and you probably teach them a lot too, right? So they learn a lot off of the other members. Do you guys have some form of like, maybe a Discord or some forum, or do you guys get together for regular meetings for members to share experiences with each other?
We do not currently. That's one of the things that we're working on. We have sort of a technology roadmap that we work through. If you look at the company since it launched, early on it was emails. Now, all data is submitted on our secure portal. The next step is for retailers to be able to have access and to be able to look at some trends, their store compared to the rest of the province.
Nice.
Not to other stores,
Right.
because we obviously want to
Yeah, you
privacy,
anonymize
right?
the data,
Exactly.
but give them some.
And then there's going to be a portion there for licensed producers also to be able to see how their products are doing. Because there's value in the entire ecosystem.
Mhm.
Yep.
Retailers are great, but if you don't have product to put in your store, what are you doing?
Then
Yeah,
what are you
right?
selling?
Exactly. So some information there for LPs. The next step after that is a really deep dive into the analytics for your store. Like being able to drill down to what's moving, what's the velocity, what pace. So we'll get there.
Nice.
That's a beta launch is going to be probably in the first 2 weeks of July.
Okay.
Oh,
So it's coming up, guys.
soon.
Coming up very soon.
That's very
coming
soon.
up very soon.
And so that what happens is the retailer subscribes to the data program. They're actually going to make money instead of paying money. Like, wow.
Mhm.
And then they also get insights into, what to carry, what not, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to give them a lot of information that they're currently they may not necessarily have access to right now.
Yes,
At
because
least-
the provincial bodies aren't
Correct.
giving that information.
Or they may have it from their point of sale for, their store.
Right.
Or they might layer on another provider. et
But
cetera.
it's just like in tradition of what you're doing, giving the small guy, letting him be able to compete with the big guy, you're doing the same thing, because a Canna Cabana, let's say, they have so many stores, so they have so many data points. So now if you can help your members, they're in the game now.
Exactly.
So I love what you're doing, and it's needed. And like you said, 80% of retailers are these guys who have put their blood, sweat, and tears into their store, their own money, and they need some help here.
100%. So that's sort of what we're looking at, and then we'll be looking at more programs, right? We do some education stuff, but not really in a manner that I'm fully on side with yet, because I think there's a lot more to be done. But that's where I'm kind of looking at, okay, well, what can we do in terms of partnerships that bring us value, so we don't have to do it all ourselves, right? We're a very small team, so that's sort of
and that's the theme of your organization, is really the power of people coming together, right? And that's how you're able to make these deals, get them the deals, the discounts, the money coming in. So yeah, it's awesome what you're doing.
Yep.
Is there a common theme when retailers come to you? Is there a common challenge that they're all sort of expressing right now? There seem to be like a buzz around one certain thing or a particular thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think product pricing.
Product pricing
is a real challenge.
And that's set by.
Well, it's not really so much that it's set by the regulatory board or the OCS. It's like, with the excise taxes, it's pretty.
Right.
The products are getting a lot more expensive. You have some retailers, larger chains, that are able to discount their product to such a degree that they cannot. Right. So there needs to be some sort of metric around that. Also, the way retailers have to pay upfront for their product.
Yeah.
Right. On delivery, I should say, not upfront. But the licensed producers don't get paid on the back end till like 90 days later.
Wow.
So what's happening?
What's going on in between there?
Right. Like that's 90 days of interest on a lot of cannabis being bought.
Right.
That's a shit ton of cannabis.
Well, and even worse is if you,
right?
I've heard stories that they order and then like they're not able to fill it because there's not enough, and then but you don't get your money back. Like you gotta wait, and then it could come the next time now, and then like maybe that time it could get delayed to you don't even want it, but then
you've paid for it
and
already.
you've already paid for it.
So essentially, you get a case. You order. Let's say you order a case of weed pannion pre-rolls. Okay, case comes in at 11 instead of 12. That's the case count. Now it's at 11. Guess what? You have to receive it in your inventory as 12, and then put in a credit note for that one that you don't have.
Oh, wow!
And you don't know when
it's gonna.
I talked to a retailer that had something like $15,000 in credit notes.
Jeez,
right?
Louise.
That's crazy.
$15,000 in credit notes. Like,
that's nuts.
what the is that?
Yeah, that's nuts.
Well, think about this. Say they have 150,000 in inventory. That's 10% of their money tied up for a time they don't even know when.
Even know the
and then when they get it, maybe it's not as hot as it was. So now it's like now they're stuck on it. So now their money's tied up in it again. Where if they would have got it originally, they could have flipped it. So it's crazy.
Right. But again, I think as time progresses, retailers are gonna understand that there's bigger issues to focus on, right? Let's stop worrying about certain little things that don't matter. If the rule says one thing, but everybody is playing it in a different manner, then that's the de facto rule, right? So let's understand where the de facto rules are. Let's band together. Yeah, let's close them up. For sure, they need to be closed up. But in the meantime, why are we going to not play by the rules that are out there?
Right.
We need to learn to play by those rules. We need to push in the same way. Right? We need to talk to each other. We need to understand as independents. I mean, I get really passionate.
That's good.
This business, before it was legal, was an independent business. Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was trust. I talked about this a couple of days ago. There was trust in the industry. When you wanted to go out and buy some weed, you had to trust the person you were getting that weed from. Right? Because if you didn't trust them, what could happen?
You could die.
Okay.
No, I don't know.
Not die, but you could get a charge, blah blah blah.
Yes.
Therefore, that could impact your career,
Right.
So on
There's
and so
big
forth.
consequences.
Okay.
Yeah.
It feels that trust is being eroded in this industry for the wrong reasons. THC labeling, right? We need to talk and fix THC labeling.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever, Jackie, ask your dealer how much THC is in this Gorilla
No.
Glue that you're giving me?
Never.
Right.
Never.
I can't. No, never.
What did you ask him?
Is
it
it
good?
good?
Is it good? Is
Let
it
me smell it.
is it a quad?
Right.
Is it
Right?
good?
Is it
Yeah,
four
yeah.
quad?
Right.
So you had trust.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, today if you go into a store or if you work in a store and a consumer comes in, because all of this push about THC, and even terpenes, like yes, they're important, but they're still just a little metric that most consumers aren't really interested in.
Right.
They think highest THC means best high.
Right.
But we never thought like that.
No.
The industry was not built like that. It's how does it smell? How does
Yeah.
it look? You know,
Give me that nug, and then
Right.
I'd smell it. No, yeah, I'm taking this
Right.
one. That was it.
and that's sort of where we've got to get to. Those are the important issues that we need as retailers to focus on.
Right.
How do we improve the experience in our retail stores from a regulatory standpoint?
I got an idea. Remember when you could go to your dealer and you could be like, I don't have it, but I'll get you next week. Could the retailers introduce fronts?
Something.
The difference I think with that kind of front was if you didn't come back to your dealer, you might have your kneecaps blown out.
Off goes your kneecaps.
Right?
But again, that goes around like the trust
Yeah,
and the
but I think what I mean when I talk about the trust is like, you know, as consumers and bud tenders, like we've got to build that trust with our customer, right? Like,
Mhm.
yeah, you know what? This might only be 18% THC, but this is how it makes you feel. This is the experience, and sell the experience. We all smoked weed for the experience.
Right.
yeah.
And it doesn't matter if it was a medical experience or whether it was a
Recreational
recreational
experience.
It was an experience.
Right.
Right? So I think there's bigger issues for us as groups and retailers to focus on and work through versus worrying about other things that don't really impact us.
Yeah. What about the the people, your members, what do they say about like the sovereign market? Like coming into the cities is what I'm talking about specifically.
You're talking about sort of like from indigenous
Yes.
communities, and you know I think that's a really touchy subject.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a lot of things that aren't being done from higher levels of government, clean drinking water issues, et cetera, et cetera. It becomes very difficult to have a conversation that can be productively viewed because there's too many other underlying issues that haven't been resolved or even attempted to be resolved, right? So I think there needs to be a way to include them into the fold. So the licensing regime needs to be expanded to allow them to come in and, hey, if you have band council approvals, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, then the province should also allow them to have a provincially regulated
Right.
license. And if they're going to operate on non-traditional land, so to speak, I mean, and again, that again opens
Yeah.
up a whole can of worms, but then you follow the jurisdiction that your store is physically located in. I think that's a fair way to compromise, right? So if you're on Danforth as an example, you follow the same rules that any other retailer on the Danforth has to follow. Buy product from regulated.
That would make it fair. Yeah.
But it's such a
But then
complex-
you say the word
complex.
fair,
Right.
and
Because-
how is that even
Right.
fair when they're behind
Right.
100+ years of unfairness? So
Well, and their argument is that they have a treaty which was signed that says that they go step by step with the white man, and if the white man's in the cannabis business, they can be in the cannabis business.
And I don't disagree with that.
So
don't disagree with that.
it's,
I don't disagree with that.
But like in the legal market, when some guy pops up right across the street from you
Right.
selling $20 ounces with no tax, that's a problem.
It's a big problem. It's a big problem. But again, it isn't a problem that the retailers can fix.
Right.
Right? There is a lack of enforcement, or maybe
Right.
there is enforcement and it can't really be enforced beyond just the action of the enforcement. I don't know,
Right.
right? I don't know. It's
Yeah.
like I said, it's a complex issue.
It's
but
a
I
hot
think-
potato.
right? But I think there needs to be steps taken to integrate
Mhm.
them into the market.
But like we're just trying to so like on the like it's a complex issue, but like on a level of problems, like where does that rank in your members? So like that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like how big of a problem do your members view it, or is it like okay, the number one problem is that we need more than 10 milligrams in edibles, then it goes to excise, or is it this
Derek, I see where you're. I
Yeah,
see where
which
you're
one-
going,
where is
right?
it?
And
Yeah.
I think some of these problems are intertwined.
Mm.
So, a consumer that is going to go to the legal market and buy from the legal market has its reasons for buying from the legal market. I was a legacy buyer. I'm
Mhm.
sure you were.
Yeah.
I do not buy from the legacy anymore.
Mhm.
I don't.
Yeah.
If I contemplate buying from the legacy, what am I looking at? Drinks and edibles.
Mhm.
Why am I looking at drinks and edibles?
Because
THC is the issue.
Right.
So if I'm
Right.
going to go into a legacy store, even
Mhm.
I'm typically, as a consumer, I'm buying drinks or edibles at a higher dosage.
Right.
Right.
Okay, so that's one problem you can take care of
Yeah.
fairly quickly with regulations
Absolutely.
that now gives the legal market an equal footing.
Right, but like when Vortex tried to do that with their, and then they get slapped for it, right? It's like that's the whole thing. So it's like, okay, guys, that's working. Pete, that's what people want, you know. So
they're ahead of the curve though, a little bit, right?
right, okay,
And you kind of have to push the boundaries and be ahead of the curve. And there are going to be people that are going to be some of those trailblazers, right? And everybody's going to have to try and say, where do I want to play and where do I want to do that in?
Common
Right.
theme. We're going to have to push the boundaries a little. Everybody has said that today in
Yeah.
every different
Yeah.
aspect of the industry. We'll have to push the boundaries a little bit.
Yeah.
yeah. And I like what you said earlier. You said something about, I forget how the exact wording that you used, but you basically said like the perceived rules, or like what was it that
Yeah,
you said there?
I said, so let's say we're playing Monopoly. Let's
Yeah.
break it down a little bit different, all right? If we're playing Monopoly, and the rule is the banker decides the rules.
Right.
That's the first rule. The banker decides the rules.
Right.
So
There
if
you
the
go.
banker is deciding the rules, it doesn't matter what it says on the rule book because the banker
Right.
decided the rules.
Right. Yeah.
So if those are the rules, and we're in the game and we're playing Monopoly, then we need to play by the rules.
Right.
Which rules?
The banker's rule.
Oh, I get it.
Right?
Yeah. We need to play by the banker's rules.
You know what I mean? So
Yep.
Even if we don't like the banker or his rules.
right, so it's really comes down to like we've gotta be thoughtful. We have to lobby, we have to advocate in the right things. We've got to do the right things to make sure conferences like these grow, right?
Mhm.
One of the things that we're noticing as an industry trend overall is a decline in retailers attending conferences,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
They
why
can't
is that?
afford to.
They can't afford to.
We can't afford
Because
the
they're
time
thinking
off.
because they can't afford that staff member to
Right.
cover.
Yeah.
Right? So we have all of these ancillary businesses built around weed. If we don't support weed, we don't push for it, none of the ancillary businesses survive either.
Right.
Right? One of the things that I like about our business and what we're doing for retailers, if you don't get paid, I don't get paid.
Right.
So it's in my best fucking interest, believe me, to make sure you get something back. Something that makes sense to you.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, because you're fighting for them, really.
Right.
You know, it's no different than That's so. I like that, and that's how it should be, right? Because you're creating value, and you're taking a fee for facilitating that, but they're basically getting, you're creating another revenue stream
Well,
for
I
them.
mean, listen, everyone pays for services. Right?
Yeah.
My mom at her place gets a cleaning lady to come help. She pays for that service.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right?
No, there's nothing wrong with
Yeah,
that.
I
nothing
think
wrong
it's
with that.
fair. It's
No,
It's fair.
and it's a fair
Absolutely.
amount too, considering what you get.
exactly. And it's like you said, you're only getting paid on results, that's the fairest model
Right.
there can be.
And you think about the things that we take away from the management. Well, guess what? Now you don't have to go, hey, payments provider, I want a better deal. That's one
Right.
phone call that could end up in 3 different phone calls.
Right.
Hey, POS provider, I want a better deal,
Right.
right? Hey, insurance provider, I want a better deal.
Right.
Right.
Together,
Hey, we're gonna
together
take-
you're leveling the playing field.
Absolutely.
Together you level. So the IRCC creates a network that together you're a Goliath
Right.
instead of
And we're across the country. We have members in BC, Saskatchewan, Alberta, Manitoba, and of course Ontario, right? And members come up to me and say, "We love what you're doing. Thank you." And that man, I'd do that any
Yeah.
day,
That's awesome.
any day. I'd much rather having that conversation than someone saying to me, "Oh, by the way, your payments they cost me way too much money." Right, like that. And you charge me, or your system is down. Oh, I'd rather have this conversation. Right, retailers coming up and saying, "Hey, we love what you guys are doing. That's fantastic. Cool."
The IRCC leveling the playing field for the little guys. So then you're not so little, right? Together you're not so
No,
little.
we're not.
That's
We're actually very, very
really,
good.
really interesting
As-
conversation, and we could go on forever. We could go in much deeper. I'm sure this is really great that they have this, that you offer this service to the retailers. Especially it's a very challenging time for retailers. So to have places to turn is wonderful. And so the IRCC, Shaq from the IRCC, you can reach out to him and reach out to them. If you're a independent retailer and looking to grow your network, grow your voice, share your challenges, and now you have somewhere to go.
Thank you.
So that's great. Thank you for joining us on the Green Room live from Cannabis Wiki Conference and Expo. Shaq from the IRCC. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Peace.
Peace.
We're always fresh and a little bit sticky. The Green Room on Cannabis Wiki.